When you're accused of a crime, there's not a lot of things that are actually in your control. You can't control the officer's decision to have arrested you. You can't control what the judge sets your bond at. You can't control when you have court or who your judge is. But the one thing that you can control is who you hire to represent you in court. That is a constitutional protection. That is your saving grace, is that you do have control of who goes to court with you. That's why it's so important at that point to hire a good criminal defense team. Don't look for a personal injury lawyer that does some criminal defense on the side. Don't look for a family law lawyer that looks to make a little money by doing some DWIs or things like that. It's the one thing you can control in this process. So take control of that. Hire a good criminal defense attorney that knows what they're doing, that works in those courts, and then follow their advice. That's how you're going to get the best possible outcome in a situation that is largely out of your control. One of the benefits of hiring a criminal defense attorney that only practices criminal defense is that they're constantly staying updated and trained on the constantly changing criminal defense laws here in Texas. Every legislative section, all these new laws come out and they change everything and they update everything. Attorneys that are kind of splitting their time between personal injury and criminal defense, they're not always up to date on all the changes that happen every year in the laws. A criminal defense focused firm, from the paralegals to the support staff to the interns to the lead attorneys, they're going to know about those changes and they're going to be able to use them effectively in your defenses. The second big thing about criminal defense firms that kind of benefit over general practitioners is that because they're practicing in those courts all the time, they get to know the judges, they get to know the processes, they get to know the procedures, they get to know which way judges rule in certain situations. I've seen lawyers from out of county or non-practice areas come into courts and make these arguments to judges that we, because we're in court every day, we know that judge is going to give no weight to. You want to hire attorneys that are familiar with the courts, they're familiar with the judges, how they rule, and the only way to do that is by hiring attorneys that are actually practicing criminal defense day in and day out. The biggest mistake we see when people don't take their case serious enough and kind of hire the wrong attorney, it's not the case itself always, it's always the collateral consequences. It's the stuff that pops up months and years down the line. Attorneys that don't practice criminal law defense all the time don't always take those things into account. They don't take into account the fact that, this may have an effect on your job. They don't think about the fact that years down the line, this may have an effect on a child custody case. It may have an effect on your gun rights. It may have an effect on housing and loans and education, all these other things, because they're just so focused on the narrow criminal defense case. Criminal defense experts, they're going to know that it's not just about the case, but it's about all the collateral things that are going to happen years and down the line. That's why hiring a good criminal defense attorney is always the most important thing you can do after an arrest. So when I was a young prosecutor in the courthouse, I would sit in court and I would watch the judge all day long. And you would have client after client come up with different levels of kind of quality of attorneys. And what I kind of started to see is this pattern, is the people that went up there with kind of the lesser attorneys, they were often unprepared. They really didn't know what was going on. They hadn't taken any steps to improve their situation. And those people always kind of got the short end of the stick. Then you would see really great attorneys come up there and their clients would be so prepared. They'd be dressed right. They will have done classes ahead of time. They will have answers to the questions that the judge was going to ask, just ready to go. And those were always the clients that got the best deals. They got the best breaks. Those are the ones that got their cases dismissed. They got their records cleared. And so when we started our law firm at BRCK, we always wanted to be the most prepared. We want our clients to go up there and not be like all the other people. We want our clients to go up there ready and prepared. That way they get the best outcomes in their cases. Good criminal defense attorneys are going to be in the courthouse every day. They're going to be working with the judges. They're going to be working with the prosecutors. They're going to know ahead of time what the judges want to see, what the prosecutors want to see. They're going to know what get clients the best outcomes. And so often we give our clients advice on mitigation efforts, things they can do ahead of time, classes, courses. And so our clients are going to be well suited to walk into court and get the best outcome in their case. So every client's situation really is different, and this is where the benefit of good criminal defense firms come in, is that you can take a 22-year-old who is just starting their career, and they're going to be in a very different situation than somebody who's 65 and a business owner and doesn't have the same level of concern. And so we're going to know which collateral consequences are going to affect their future. The 22-year-old may be looking to get married, they may be looking to get loans for school, maybe looking at housing. Their concerns are going to be very different than a retiree's concerns. And so we're going to be able to tailor their defense and their outcome to have the least impact on their lives possible. With younger people, the thing we're always trying to avoid are convictions, particularly felony convictions. We call felony convictions the economic death penalty. With young people, we are hyper aware of the effect that a felony conviction will have on their futures, on their educations, on their loans and licensing, and every aspect of their life. So with younger people, we're going to do anything we can possibly do to get their case reduced, dismissed, and removed from their record so it doesn't follow them around for the rest of their life. After an arrest, the most important thing you do is decide on who's going to represent you in court, who's going to go in there and talk to the judge, talk to the prosecutors on your behalf. It is the time to hire the best attorneys and best law firms possible, not just because of the case, but of all the collateral consequences that happen down the line. Call us at BRCK. We've been in these courts. We know how to handle cases. We know how to get you through that process so it has as little an impact on your future as possible.